Hey everyone, this is Cameron, the co-host and editor of Renegade Animation on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcasts, or give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. We are where podcasts can be found all over the net. If you can, consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/renegadepopculture. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about the extremely exhausting world of animation. Boy howdy, let's get started.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And everyone's favorite Crazy Lemur, Bree.
Howdy-do.
And we've got a pretty great show for you tonight. Our feature will be covering the new Studio Chizu film, Scarlet. Before we get there, we actually do have a lot of news to talk about. Most of it is coming from CinemaCon, which was held last week in Las Vegas. And Cameron, where would you like to start?
Boy, it's not just CinemaCon, Mike. It is CinemaCon, the Cannes Film Festival. Annecy is loading up to start their drop of what's going to be in competition and with their screenings. And, it's just a lot of news to drop all at once. And we talked a little bit about the Cannes Film Festival lineup of animated films. None of them are playing in competition, which sucks because it's always nice when animation gets to play at the adult table at the Cannes Film Festival, and it's not just all the most exquisite films from around the world. Though I say that with snark. The lineup this year sounds pretty fantastic, if you ask me. I really loved last year's lineup of winners and such. So the animated films that are now fully playing at the Cannes Film Festival outside of competition are Les Corsets, which we've already talked about, the beautiful 2D French animated film. Gym Queen, the new animated feature from Bobby Pills, the famous YouTube channel for all of their sexual and lewd but comedic content. In Waves, which just looks beautiful and apparently has English producers on it, or at least some English cast in it.
Ooh.
And we also have We Are Aliens, which is a collaboration from France and Japan, which seems to be happening quite a lot more recently. Like that Ghost Cat Anzu movie from 2 years ago was a France and Japan collaboration. And it looks really cool. Just really sketchy art style. Looks very ominous. This next one I am super looking forward to because it's Carmen de la Sierra Rebel, which is directed by Sebastian Laudenbach, who did The Girl with No Hands back in 2017, and then in 2023 did Chicken for Linda, which, if you've heard the podcast, Mike and I are big fans of that. So
I adore that movie.
And you can already see the art style, and it's just oh, I can't wait to see this in motion. Again, after Carmen, which, super pumped for, it's probably going to be one of the best movies of the year. I assume G-Kids will get it. We have Le Vertige, which is the first animated feature by Quentin Dupieux, which, if you look at the poster for it, it's very much looks like a machinima, source engine kind of animation. It has these low poly PC polygon visual looks. It's like an early 2000s PC game kind of thing, or late 90s. And then with Blaze, directed by Dimitri Plancon and Jean-Paul Jougouet. I know it looks weird. It looks like an animated bit from the Mad TV era show from Cartoon Network. But I saw a little bit of it in motion from the cartoon movie collage videos from the animation magazine. It actually looks way better in motion than how you would think. And like looking at all 7 of these movies, like if you want animation to thrive and evolve and to try out different things, then it's going to go through all these different art styles. And these 7 movies are like a good example of that. Like you got your more painted, artful French style stuff. You got your experimental CG or 2D looks from Blaze and Le Vertige. And then you got like your raunchy adult comedy with Gym Queen, which they also showed a little snippet of it in motion there, and it just looks freaking funny as hell. Like, I showed it to my coworker, and he was just like, I definitely want to see this. And it comes off like a film that if you were a fan of Lesbian Space Princess, you would be down for this movie. But
yeah, it definitely feels like this year's LSP.
yeah, exactly. But the news didn't stop there. And we'll talk about the Annecy work in progress presentation when the official like lineup is revealed. It's just we got a lot to talk about, and that's not even just counting Scarlet. So we'll save that for the next podcast. And if you are wondering when we are recording this, no, the Coyote versus Acme trailer has not come out as of Monday, April 20th. Even though it would have been kind of a perfect day to do so, nothing else came out today, so
yeah, and also like today, they should have done it and just had Wile E. Coyote smoking a joint.
Oh,
exactly.
that would have been so hilarious.
I mean, hey, if I was him and had constant decades of failure from the Acme Corporation, I would be smoking a joint myself.
Oh yeah, no, like after his lawsuit, which I'm gonna hope is successful, he could have all that money just chilling out. He's like, I ain't chasing after no roadrunners. Fuck that shit.
It's been what, 50 years? No, done. Or maybe even older now. Ugh, don't want to think about that. Life is scary. But with CinemaCon, some of these news announcements sounded like Mad Libs, especially with the fact that like Sony is making an R-rated Bloodborne animated feature with Jacksepticeye as a producer, and just 10 years ago, like Bloodborne getting like this huge fandom, like people are still demanding a remaster, a sequel, a PC port. Like people love Bloodborne, even though people are probably more familiar with From Software's more recent endeavors like Elden Ring and such. But okay, I hope they actually commit to putting this out in theaters, because otherwise I'm going to have to roll my eyes, since Sony may have been on the forefront at 2 different times, but for adult animation. But the first one ended with the film's success being overshadowed by the poor working conditions from Sausage Party. And then the Fixed movie that was made by Sony Pictures Animation, but it was supposed to be put out by Warner Brothers, but then got sold to Netflix and became the most overhated thing from last year. Like, listen, it's okay to just think that movie's fine, or if you didn't like it, but god dang, y'all need to stop harassing people.
Oh yeah. Do you want to get into that one?
In a minute, I do want to say one thing about Bloodborne and why A, this will get a theatrical release, and B, why it might actually be at least somewhat of a success. Take a look at what Markiplier was able to do with Iron Lung. Like a YouTuber who put up his own money to adapt an indie game that he was just really passionate about. Now, there are certainly concerns that Sony will fuck this up because it's Sony, but I'm trusting that I'm trusting that Jacksepticeye's passion will come through, and who knows?
I mean, that's the thing. I don't think he would have. done this project unless he had some kind of major control alongside the director and such. And it's just weird because if you know anything from Software games like Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Sekiro, there's a plot, but it's mostly in the background. It's kind of like you're dropped into a world that was already in ruination and brought upon by the destruction of greed and corruption of multiple different kinds. Sometimes mostly like, oops, spoilers, cosmic horror tends to be the most common answer. But, and to be clear, that's not a bad thing against it. It's just what happens. It's like when you introduce cosmic creatures in a dark fantasy world, it's like, oh boy, so we're going like the Cthulhu cosmic horror route, but not actually using Cthulhu. Okay. Especially with Bloodborne. Like, you look at some of the creatures in that game and it's like, oh boy. And then there was a lot of like little news and stuff, like impressions from there. Like, apparently, like Robert Rodriguez is directing a family film for Paramount called The Naughty List, which is, I guess, a Christmas themed animated film. And I'm sorry, like, I love Robert Rodriguez, and I know he's been doing some pretty solid TV and film work as of, like, recent years, but I just don't like Robert Rodriguez's kids' films. I don't think he's very good at making them, but that's just me. I understand he's, like, I made these movies with the help of my kids, and it's also like, well, I'm not going to look over that, like, have that be like, okay, fine, I won't be critical of it. But which is like, no, man. A lot of his kids' films kind of suck. Like, I mean, say what you will, the first Spy Kids is still pretty decent, but his most recent stuff has not been good. Let's get into some of the more Mad Libby news announcements from there. Netflix is making a Tumblr-ish sounding sequel to Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory, or I guess Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. And I just want to read this plot summary. So, Willy Wonka, who is voiced by Taika Waititi, has spent the years since the Golden Ticket contest behind bars, not the chocolate kind, for the crime of turning a child into a blueberry. I'm sure he had other charges aimed at him, but that's probably the one they could get him on. Having served his time, Wonka returns to his factory, determined to add a little sweetness to a bitter world. But one thing stands in his way. Teenage Charlie Paley and his friends. Facing eviction, this next generation of rotten kids plot to break into the factory, nab a priceless Wonka bar, and save their homes. But like many before them who enter the fantastical world of the factory, these kids are in for a bit more than they can chew.
You know, here's like the weird thing. Why didn't they just adapt the actual sequel, Charlie in the Glass Elevator? Like, what the fuck even is this?
Right?
I mean, like, listen, some of the news, the added context has me a little more interested because it's Sony Pictures Imageworks doing the animation. And a lot of the artists who worked on K-pop Demon Hunters have confirmed that they're working on this. The directors are Jared Stern and Elaine Bogan, who have worked on stuff like the Lego Batman movie, Green Eggs and Ham, Troll Hunters, Tales of Arcadia, and Spirit Untamed, but I'm not gonna... Again, like, that movie was fine, but it was just... It was like the strange magic of the DreamWorks filmography, where it's just like, we're making this for girls. And it's just like, yeah, okay.
Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron, the original, wasn't like the... Do you have any idea how many, like, horse girls that movie made?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get one that's, like, partially based off of the TV show, but not based on the TV show, and it's kind of like a reboot of the TV show, which then went nowhere, and it's just like, okay. I mean, I am curious. I would like to see what this looks like in motion, because, I don't know, it's a weird idea. And if I recall, I think in one of our film Facebook groups, Mike, someone explained that the Glass Elevator adaptation was never going to happen because Roald Dahl said you cannot adapt this one, but I
But
don't
here's
know.
like the weird thing. The 2005 Tim Burton movie partially adapted it, so that's not even true either.
Yeah, that I've got questions about that.
I mean, one thing we'll say is if people who are working on this are really excited about this, that's cool. Like, be
I mean, for
excited.
all we know, it could be an irreverent masterpiece.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Like, I don't want to judge too harshly. It's just based on face value, it just sounds like a weird project. It's definitely not coming out this year. It's coming out next year, so we have time on our hands. And then with Disney. Let's get the one positive thing out of the way first. We did see the footage and announcement that Disney did reanimate 3 of their movies. I think 3 of them. I think it's Moana, Frozen 2, and are made their base language sign language. So instead of having like a little sign language person on the side, the characters in the movie, from what the footage they show, are actually speaking with sign language.
Yeah, I think it's for some of the musical numbers. Like the one clip that they highlighted was of Beyond from Moana 2. So instead of her singing it, she is signing the song. Which, and you know what, just for like context, I think Disney has been doing similar tech for like their international dubs for years, because I'm pretty sure in some instances they will reanimate the lip flaps for different languages, but it's cool that they're utilizing the technology to truly make, you know, some of their films more accessible.
Yeah, I think that is a really cool thing to do. And of course people are going to be cynical and suspect that it's done with AI, but
that AI cannot do that. Like, as advanced as AI can get,
you would tell. You could tell.
Especially someone who speaks in sign language, they're like, you do not want to translate what they're doing right now if this was AI or something like that.
Yeah, it'll just be like 10 hands just like manifesting. Like, I mean, to be fair, it would be less horrific than the live action Moanas.
Or it's like, it does all these random hand gestures, and it's just like, not to be that guy, but that sign language is like spewing the most hateful, bigoted nonsense. You don't want that to be.
And you know what? It's like crazy, especially like for Moana, you don't want to do it because in some territories, like, Moana is known as Vaiana, and you can look up why.
Oh. Yeah, you don't want to mess that one up.
No.
But on a serious note, this is actually just really cool. Something I wish more animated features, or just more movies in general, were able to do, just to be more accommodating.
I mean, like, at first, like, I understand when people saw the footage that they show from Moana 2, it looks a little weird, but it's also like, wait a minute, I don't think I've seen an animated film use sign language. Like, I mean, there are some movies that use, like, bits and pieces of it, but that's, like, a really demanding thing to commit to. And, like, kudos to the artists and the animators who were able to do that. Now, I don't think they'll do this for every movie, but I think it will be an interesting experiment to check out. And hey, if that means I watch Moana 2 again, which is something I thought I'd never do, sure. But this is like the cherry on top of, like, that's trying to cover up the fact that Disney just laid off thousands and thousands of people.
Including Andy Park, who literally is responsible for the entire aesthetic of the MCU.
Oh my god, that one was a huge blow, and
they're doing this because they're trying, like, yes, some of this deal was already in the process of getting done, and then COVID happened and delayed it, but they're doing this because they don't want to pay people. and cover health insurance and overtime and stuff because Hollywood is so friggin' anti-union. Or just the real irony of Hollywood does not like being Hollywood. And unfortunately, they're just trying to whittle down the workforce as painfully small as possible and pay as little as possible, but still make like a whole slew of cash. Which, like, what's going on with this freaking industry? It's so asinine what they're doing this for. And this was bad when DreamWorks did it because they're like, we want to work with non-union studios. And it's like, why can't you guys just tell the government to have art or film credit, like tax credits? That's all you have to do. It just reminds me of that Ty West interview for Maxine, where it's just like, Hollywood loves being the birthplace of movie making, but it hates you doing any kind of movie making in Hollywood. Which, because then it just doesn't help with the rest of these announcements. Like, oh, they're making a new Ice Age, and they revealed that, like, it's called Ice Age Boiling Point, and Baby Scrat is going to be back, and they're bringing back apparently a lot of the same people, like Ray Romano, Queen Latifah, Dennis Leary, Simon Pegg is going to come back, which I'm kind of amazed by because that Adventures of Buck Wild movie was wretched. Like, Bree, for context, Mike and I struggled to make like even 30 minutes out of a podcast out of that movie because it was just like, there's nothing here. But also,
yeah.
Why are we making another Ice Age movie? Do people actually care about that, or did Disney see like, oh hey, this thing made money, so we'll make more money, and it's been long enough for nostalgia's sake, even though people are going to still be mad at us for killing Blue Sky Studios.
You know what's like crazy, and I just clocked it this year. Is it this year or next year is Ice Age's 25th anniversary?
Let's see. The franchise launched in 2002. So
Okay, so that's next year. So, but it's crazy because, like, Ice Age. I mean, even before Disney got in the picture, Ice Age is both the best and worst thing that happened to Blue Sky. And it kind of sucks that Fox never really let them grow out of their mold, and then they just kind of got an identity when it was already too late.
Yeah.
I mean, I still stand by the fact that, like, Ferdinand and Spies in Disguise were still really good movies.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, no, those movies are great, but
they're Twilight Blue Sky.
Yeah, it's just frustrating. And I mean, I guess hearing Ray Romano be like, the real Ice Age didn't last this long. And it's just like, yeah, it's like when, I mean, that's the thing. It's like the first, and I say like the movies like from 1 to 3 are still pretty solid movies, even though I still think the third one's really boring to sit through outside of the Simon Pegg parts. But it's not really that great of a franchise. Like, it had characters that would be introduced and then killed off or dropped off for the next movie. And then, like, are they going to bring back Adam Devine's character from the last one with Collision Course? They're probably not going to. Is J-Lo going to be back in this when she has barely anything to do with her character? Probably not. Like, why continue this outside of pure corporate nostalgic-driven greed?
You know what's crazy is that in all these movies, we haven't ever seen the human baby, like, come back once.
The humans are just
they
gone.
literally showed up in the first movie and then never again.
It's just so funny because I wonder if they would like show what has been happening with them beyond, like, between the movies and seeing all this stuff happen, and they're just like, thank God we're not part of this mess anymore. It's a weird franchise, and yeah, I just don't care. I don't know. Like, I hope the artists who are working on it are having a good time making it, and who knows, maybe we can get like a Puss in Boots: The Last Wish level, like, okay, they're actually cooking with this, and they have like a good idea, because that was always a problem with Ice Age, where they just had like the barest plot, and then that was it. And
because Rupert Murdoch said, "Work, bitch, work."
You can make your original stuff after you make a new Ice Age, which is literally how that works. And then they showed a little more of Toy Story 5, which, okay. And then there was the whole thing with Hexed. Like,
oh god.
Okay, first of all, let's do some cleanup work here, because this is the kind of thing we've been hinting at. One, yes, it sucks to hear that the original directors got replaced from the original production. It is weird that they changed a very unique premise of a son and mother dynamic for its story to just like a daughter and mother. That makes me a little weary, because all I can think about now is Brave. And
yeah, that's the same thought that's going through my mind too.
And then the designs came up, and
can I say one thing about the design? This
ahead.
Is no hate to like the artists or whatever, because I am like 99.9% sure that they had to compromise and get the version that was approved that stayed within Disney's house style, because for whatever reason, we cannot move past like the tangled Frozen designs, but straight up, the Haley Steinfeld character just looks like Elsa from Wish. Or like Temu. Like, I'm sorry, like, it was just...
She looks like... the daughter looks like a character from the Frozen universe. And...
No, but legit, the pose, like, it almost looks like the same promo image that they used for Frozen 1, where, like, Elsa's giving DreamWorks face before, like, anyone actually knew about her character.
No, that's exactly it. And the mom, it's a whatever design. It just kind of looks like she's had her 12th cup of coffee, and that her daughter is kind of a nightmare to deal with. And listen, yes, this may have some slightly similar elements to the Owl House. But listen, y'all, you can't just be like, magical girl from Disney. Owl House.
Isekai. It's like, no, the Owl House did not invent these tropes. Shut the fuck up.
Like, go after the Japanese creators if you're going to, like, manga and anime creators, if you're going to want to go after the origin of the inspiration here for any of this stuff happening. And I know people are going to be like, oh, but the directors directed Wish and Moana too, and it's just like, do not blame the directors for those two train wrecks happening. Those things were executive, committee produced, approved, nightmare productions, okay? Like, I don't know why that's so hard to understand that sometimes directors get put on bad projects, even if they know it's a bad project. Like, do we need to remind people about the Alan Gregory thing, where people who worked on that already knew that this thing, they had no faith and no potential, like, future with this series because they only got like 7 episodes and that was it. And people were like, it was fun to work on, but not a great show. So here it's just like, Wish wasn't going to be good because of Disney's meddling of that movie. Moana 2 was supposed to be a mini-series that got forced and crammed into, a movie because Disney really needed money, apparently. Well, they did, because 2023 was a financial disaster for them, so... But here's the thing. If the artists who are working on this movie, or any movie, say that they are happy and proud of what they've put into the movie, and are excited about people going to see it, do not harass them. Do not.
No, if you do that, you are a douchebag.
And then everyone had like Brie, you dealt with someone who was having like the crash out of crash outs of being like, why can't Dana Terrace tell her weird fan base to stop harassing people? And it's just like, that's not on her. That's on you parasocial little weirdos who can't differentiate reality from your weird internet pilled brain rot.
And it was so bad with that too. But yeah, this was an old Brie Gallagher special because I knew it. I'm like, oh, you're one of those Josh Whedon, early 2000s, oh, I support women, I am a feminist ally bullshit. And I'm like, you are so full of fucking shit. First of all, like, you are. And I was right, because he turned out to be a sexist douche, but oh my god, like, the ending of, like, then this was all for nothing. Just in context, because this was live as I was, like, typing a friend, and I'm like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I screenshot in the moment, but oh my god. But to kind of get into it, because this kind of singles back to something that we've all talked about in this podcast before, that female creators are held to a different standard, and I'm like, okay, so, like, in general, like, a creator, like, regardless of their gender identity or whatever, should not be responsible for policing their fandom. Like, that's not... y'all need to just act like grown-ass adults and, like, handle yourselves decently.
That includes all fandoms, whether it's animation or even the Snyder Bros. Like,
or apparently the Pit fandom, from what I've heard.
Yeah, that's... I don't know what's going on there.
I find out about all this shit, like, against my own will. It's like, I'm just trying to eat a sandwich, and then all this Pit drama bullshit happens, and it's like, oh my god, get a life!
And it's like, ma'am, this is not a fucking McDonald's. Like, what are you doing? But my point is, that I'm trying to wrap around to, is that it's funny that every time a controversy like this pops up, you know, that, oh, a certain fandom's getting out of control and the creator needs to say something, it's always with female showrunners. Every goddamn time.
It's so tiring. And it's like, would you be saying this if this was, like, Matt Braley or something like that? Which, like, yes, they, like, every show creator would say, hey, don't be dipshits.
But here's the crazy thing, she has! So it's like, the whole...
like, what are y'all talking about?
No, the fact that you guys can't move on for the owl has stopped being weirdo, but, like, this one guy's going on compared to, like, the fandom menace, and, like, as soon as I saw the way you talk, like, I fucking knew, like, 1,000%, but here's the thing that, like, kicked me off, and this is where I did the Dio from JoJo, you know, kind of thing, because it's like, okay, you want to play, well, alright, let's fucking play. He called Dana an object of their worship. Okay, so I guess she's not a person anymore. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's a creepy as hell thing to say. Oy.
Like, even you're saying that they're like a cult, I'm like, you're still depersonalizing her, like, you're dehumanizing her, like, what the literal fuck is wrong with you?
It's so, like, fandom has gone to a point where it's like, yes, I'm a fan of something. No, do not put me with those creepy homicidal maniacs over there. Just no, get me away from there. I'm gonna be here with my Porco Rosso profile photo, enjoying Porco Rosso, and just saying I'd rather be a pig than a goddamn fan of something now. So
it's like, we are not the same.
It's like, I enjoy something and respect the artists that work on stuff. You have a parasocial, creepy relationship with like your own, like, enjoyment of art. We are not the same. And that's why I want to, like, tap this off, like, with something kind of cool that I forgot to kind of bring up with the con film news. Since we're talking about, well, first of all, I hope Hex is good. Maybe it will be good. We don't know. Disney has officially become unreliable, to me at least, for, like, quality entertainment per se, to the point where films like Turning Red and Hoppers come off like miracles and exceptions to the rule compared to what Disney puts out. Like, that's just how I felt reading all this stuff, and then seeing the designs. It was just like, I can't be hyped for this. I am more excited for Labyrinth and Decorado coming out than something from a studio that used to be pretty reliable.
Yeah, the gold standard even. And it's really a shame. Like, I'm not one of those people that will be like, oh yeah, fuck Disney. I mean, yeah, fuck Disney, the company, but the people over there are obviously kind of fucking going through it right now, and it's sad.
It is, and I'm still going to be a fan of Disney from like just going through my nostalgia from the VHS era, but the company as it is now, like
yeah, it's not that company anymore. It hasn't been in a while.
Yeah, it hasn't been that for decades probably, but
it's just like the sign of like when nobody was excited for Hex, and like outside of the stupid fandom nonsense, like everyone was just kind of like, okay, like that's a telltale sign of where it's at the point where brand recognition cannot save you anymore. And that's just what it is right now. It's just like Disney's going to have to work hard and let their creatives cook and to stop laying off everyone. Just stop it. No. You ever think about laying off people? Lay off your executives. Take them out first.
Seriously.
You know, they'll sooner outsource all their work to like Vancouver or some shit before they ever admit to like evolving or changing. Because I think that's Disney's biggest problem now in terms of like animation, especially, is that leadership just wants to stay in the safe cookie cutter thing. Even
Sorry, I thought you said cookie cuck. And it's just like...
Well, I mean, it could be a cookie cuck. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe they're just in the cookie cuckery right now. I don't know, but here's what my point is, that this is already starting to bite them in the ass. Like, this is so reminiscent to like how Disney's like, the Dark Ages were. You have a bunch of people that are complacent, and my fear is, because as a fan of Disney's history as a studio, is that no one's going to admit that there needs to be serious, like, leadership direction changes, that they are going to have to invest in new technology for their studio until it's too late.
That's the thing. I feel like that's what's going to happen, is Disney's going to have to hit a Black Cauldron level failure, like, streak. But that's not going to happen because people are so nostalgia-pilled, they're probably going to see that stupid Moana remake, and it's going to make $1 billion, and then people are going to be like, well, wait a minute, why are they making more remakes? And it's just like, yeah, I'm going to strangle you. Just, like, it really just seems like Disney stopped getting ambitious or creative, at least as an animation studio, or, like, the executives stopped being ambitious right after Tangled hit. Because I still watch Tangled, and it's like the movie, and it's like, you know what? This is really freaking cool. Like, what a great Disney movie. But I can't say that. There's no excitement. There's more excitement from other studios now. And those other studios have their own issues. Like I said, with Sony being like, we are constantly proud of the steps in animation we have taken, but we are deeply ashamed of it, and we may push our projects off to Netflix, which is just that whole thing. But with this last little bit of news before we get to Scarlet, this, by the way, we're not trying to be like delay the inevitable Scarlet discussion. We got stuff to say. But with the one thing I forgot to mention during the Cannes film stuff was that the Cannes Film Festival is going to have an Annecy preview section where films that are work in progress and are looking for funding or distribution or something are going to be showing up there. And the selection that they have has really cool stuff. Like, they have Masashi Kawamura's Hidari, which is a wood carving cutout stop motion action animated film, which is being produced by Dwarf Studios, the ones who do the most of the stop motion anime series that you see from time to time.
Oh, that's cool.
And you look at like the preview for it, and I was a backer on this one film's Kickstarters. I'm proud of that because it's just a cool looking movie with just like this distinct stop motion visual style. I wonder if our friend Aaron knows about it since he works in stop motion. There's Batali from Virgin Keaton, which has this great European art style look to it. I'm wondering if it's going to be like a Monty Python kind of look, where it's like kind of cutout animation, which that wouldn't be the most uncommon thing. There are plenty of movies that are animated that are like paper cutout animation. Like hell, there are some that are getting like Blu-ray releases like recently, like in the last few years, which are really interesting to look at. But another one is Dog My Cat by Elaine Gagnall, which I'm very surprised by this because, again, you don't know what's getting made until you hear about it from Cartoon Movie or Annecy. Elaine Gagnall is the same person who made the Oscar-nominated A Cat in Paris and Phantom Boy, which has like this cool European art style to their animation. Which I don't know if y'all have seen either of those movies, but if you see those early films and you see this new one in production, I spotted it immediately. And then the director Takayuki Hirao, who did Pompo the Cinephile from a few years ago, has a new movie called Wasted Chef, which just, like, Pompo wasn't the best movie or anything. It was kind of a hot mess. But
there's a charm to it.
It wore its love for filmmaking on its sleeve, unapologetically about it. So, Wasted Chef, I don't know the plot about it. I do know that it's been in production since last year, but it looks great. It kind of looks like a Makoto Shinkai production in some regards. And then an Insectario, the last movie that's previewing there, by Sofia Carrillo. Like, just cool stop motion. Just like it looks like a porcelain doll kind of thing. And it ties in with the fact that there was a recent study from science, like a bunch of scientists proved that watching experimental animation can cure social media brain rot. And boy, no wonder why we're better than a lot of animation talking heads, because we are actually willing to dive into this cool stuff. So
yeah, it unclogs your skibbity.
Yeah. Oh god. It's just like it's interesting how animation fans will be like, again, we harp on this part because it's true. They're always like, we want something new and interesting. Well, all this cool stuff is happening from around the world and has been for like hundreds of years, literally, because the oldest animated film on Earth is a shadow puppet animated stop motion feature that was even out way before Disney's Snow White. But people just aren't really willing to go the distance. Like, they'll only watch the stuff from the US, and maybe if it's a Japanese director they know. Outside of that, none. We're just going to keep harping on this. Watch other things from around the world, even from like countries that you may be familiar with in their animation scene. Like, just do that.
Yeah, if you're going to harp animation as cinema, then actually watch cinema.
Yes.
Because otherwise, you're going to get stuck with watching stuff like Scarlet. Like,
oh, ouch.
So let's get to talking about this, because if y'all remember from my animation is film recap from last year, Scarlet was the first film I saw at the festival. I got to meet Hosoda himself. He seemed really cool. Unfortunately, because at first it was like, so Sony's going to come in full support for animated features, because this was around the same time they were like, yeah, we're going to release the Chainsaw Man movie. No, not through Crunchyroll. Through us. And it's like, okay. And then once the mixed reviews for Scarlet started to come out, they were like, yeah, we're going to shove this on the Sony Pictures Classics because nobody watches those movies. Like, no offense.
Aww.
It is true though. Like, Sony Pictures Classics is, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like they make it so impossible for you to find any of those titles. If you're not one of like the 20 theaters that it's playing in, you're just never seeing a Sony Pictures Classic movie.
Unless it's like Oscar nominated or something like that, like A Fantastic Woman, which was like one of the best movies of 2017, but still.
You know,
like,
if I could just Do you want me to describe in one sentence before we really get to the meat and potatoes of this, what this film is, at least to me?
Go ahead, because we got a lot of ways to describe Scarlet.
So just to explain it for the uninitiated, this movie feels like, what if Aaron Sorkin made an animated movie? And I don't mean that as a compliment.
Especially with modern day Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah, oof.
This was Hosoda's first big fantasy epic because, yes, his films have fantastical elements to them, but they were always character-focused, small scale. Like, Mirai technically never took place anywhere outside of the little kid of the lead character. And he was also trying out a bunch of different art style changes with a mix of 2D, CGI, and photorealistic background environments. And then the reviews started to come in, and I feel so bad because this movie did not do well in Japan, apparently. It's nominated for the Crunchyroll's Anime Film of the Year awards, though 100 Meters is also there, so sorry.
and we all know it's going to Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. Let's just be real.
They know their audience.
I hate that so much. That stupid movie's going to win, and I just don't agree. Though maybe 100 Meters will, because it got that huge boost in viewings once it hit Netflix. So who knows? But I digress. Basically, this Scarlet got polarizing reviews. You either liked it, you were just thinking it was okay, or you thought it was downright bad. A lot of tweets from Japan were like, this is a bad movie, yo. And I think it bombed there in Japan. And listen, back in October, I did say I liked this movie. But I also said it's the weakest movie in Hosoda's filmography. This is basically Hosoda's attempt at a Lion King-like approach to talking about Hamlet. And it's about a princess who dies trying to get revenge on her uncle who killed her dad, and ends up in this underworld-like area alongside a hospital medic from current day as they try to hunt down the uncle who also somehow ended up there, and to get revenge. And
if that already doesn't sound really confusing, boy howdy.
Yeah, this movie bit off too much. It bit off more than it could chew. And it just reminds me of movies like Pocahontas from Disney, where this movie feels so dated, but also award season focused. It's like the whole thing with Pocahontas from Disney, where this was meant to be their Best Picture winner, their Best Picture nomination. Because again, Best Animated Feature wasn't introduced until 2001. It seems like it was more focused on overall universal themes.
Yeah, more themes and concepts than actually telling a story. And honestly, like, I know because you and I talked about this last night, Cam, the comparison to Pocahontas. To me, this actually felt closer to the Wachowskis' Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah.
Which I haven't seen in like a while, but I get the comparisons.
Because, yeah, the one thing that you will notice from this movie, outside of its kind of wonky execution of visuals, like, listen, I get that Hosoda wanted to try something different. He wanted to use a bunch of different visual styles to bring this movie to life, and sometimes it will look good, but then sometimes it makes you wish that it went full CGI. Studio Chizu should have had like Studio Orange to help them with this, because Studio Orange is so far one of the few CGI studios in Japan that I think understands how CGI works.
I would say either that or like UFO Table. Even MAPPA, it has a pretty decent CG department.
That's true. That's very true. And I just don't know what exactly went wrong in the art direction kind of thing, because there are some points where the CGI looks
gorgeous.
Pretty okay, like gorgeous, and like whatever we have to say, the movie has a lot of amazing scenery. like visual shots. Like you could make posters or wall scrolls out of some of these visuals.
Oh, absolutely.
But then there are some moments like when Belle, like whatever the princess's name is. I was about to say Belle, and it's like, no,
I
that's
thought
the previous
it's Scarlet.
Scarlet.
Yeah, it's Scarlet.
When she's like screaming and ending up in hell, I guess. Something about the mouth opening from that angle looked so like they didn't have time to polish out that look or something like that. Or how sometimes that photorealistic backgrounds will make the film look like The Good Dinosaur from Pixar, where that film had super amazing looking environmental shots and locations. But then you see the designs from The Good Dinosaur and they're like Fisher Price toys.
Yeah, like these two things don't mesh. And that's like the thing, it's like you really want to love this movie. You really, really do. Because there are some amazing highs. Like, I don't think this movie's complete shit, like how a lot of people are saying it. But I can't lie and say that this movie doesn't have, like, some very serious, story construction and, like, questionable, like, visual choices. Because you'll get, like, some really nice composited shots, stuff that looks really good. And then you'll just see stuff that straight up looks like we put a model from Blender on a static photo, and it just feels like a lot of the times the animation and the art style, these different elements are at odds with each other.
Almost like Hosoda was trying too much, and the results never really... They didn't always go in his favor.
And I think a huge problem with this is the fact that Hosoda, since The Boy and the Beast, has been writing his own movies. I don't know what happened with this movie's script, because this one was having huge issues with how blunt and clunky it sounded, and with how some of the characters were written. The male medic lead is a nothing character.
And the sad thing is Scarlet isn't really too. Like, they both feel like they're more concepts, or like, with the Aaron Sorkin thing, that they're just, for talking points.
And it's like, well, first of all, the male lead comes off like an idiot the first time around. And Scarlet goes through like a really clunky progress of like being a badass warrior seeking out revenge, when she gets like her butt beat for like the first half of the third of the movie, until that one sequence when she meets the medic, where she just happens to turn into John Wick medieval fantasy mode. And like the action's pretty well executed. Like when she becomes the badass revenge princess, like some of those early fight sequences were actually pretty cool. But as the movie goes on, like, the characters just seem like they don't talk like real characters. They don't. No. They say really blunt or explicitly, like, this is what we're trying to talk about. This is the universal theme of the movie, of how we can fight and live in a world where violence is not the answer.
It doesn't exist.
But there's no reason to remember any of the characters. And for our two leads, Scarlet and whatever his name is, there's supposed to be this big sweeping romance, but it's never focused on. They never have time to truly bond until like the beginning of the third act. And by the time when it's just like she's finally going back to being alive, because...
And it's like, okay, just kiss. All right, we got like 5 minutes left in this movie. Chop chop, guys.
Well, she's just like, no, I can't live without you. And it's just like, you barely know him.
He's barely a character. But if I digress, here's like the biggest issue I feel like out of anything for the movie. Like, it's honestly Scarlet. Like, at times it borderline feels like she has no agency, and she just doesn't really have an arc. Like, they have this whole thing about like forgive, but they never really established that as like being a thing. It's just, things just kind of happen. You said it before, but I'm just gonna be a little bit more blunt with it. I think this screenplay is a complete disaster.
I think, no offense to Hosoda, it's just funny because, like, yes, The Boy and the Beast gets a little messy in the third act, and Belle can be kind of messy, but I never felt like his movies had structural issues with telling their stories.
Until this one?
Exactly. Because with Boy and the Beast, it's about a father-son dynamic through different familial situations and how the parents need to be honest with their kids and not try to hide lies or the truth from them because it could bite you in the ass. Mirai is about a brother who has to grow up and become responsible and get over his like jealousy of his new baby sister and such. Belle is about a daughter letting go of the fact that her mom died and how music and kindness, reaching out to people, can help make for a better world, especially with the internet world that Belle is in. This one is supposed to be about fighting for a world without violence and full of peace, and whether you should forgive yourself for things that happened in the past and to keep moving forward, or like, should you forgive the people who have wronged you in the past? And that sounds pretty baller, just out of context. But it's never executed in a way that's compelling or interesting to think about. Because also, the villain's not in the movie a whole lot.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest issues. Like yeah, the structure's a mess. These characters are written more like vessels for the theme rather than just characters in their own right. Claudius just straight up sucks. He
is not. No.
Yeah, that's the review. Just no. But to elaborate, he's not like entertaining enough to be like a fun evil villain, but he's also not present enough to really have much development. He's just evil, and that's it. That's all he has to offer.
And then there are like some things in this movie that they'll never explain, like the anti-violence dragon who just strikes down people who cause violence and death. I'm not saying this needs to go into a Disney remake route where they have to explain every little thing.
Don't do that.
You can get away with talking about things or introducing themes or symbolic elements to let the audience decide what that represented, or you find a creative way to explain it. But that giant dragon, which is such a cool visual with all the swords stuck in its skin, like, why? What was the point of that thing if it was going to turn into like a flock of birds?
I mean, it just seems like it's in contrast with like the theme. And here's like my other major issue is we talk about like war and violence, but they talk about it in like this vagueness, like it's just the concept of war and like nothing specific. And Cameron, you made the comparison when we watched last night to Hal's Moving Castle, and I do think there's actually, a little bit of truth to that. So for those who don't know, Hal's Moving Castle was made in response to the invasion of Iraq. So the fact that it was very specifically not just to like violence and like hatred, but very specifically to war makes a much more coherent story. Like, if anything, Scarlet just feels like a bunch of different ideas thrown together that don't really just mesh together. It seems very confused.
And this took longer to make than most of Hosoda's other movies. This took like 4.5 years to make. At one point, I'm sorry to say this, Hosoda, as much as I love you and I'm always going to look forward to whatever you make, and even though we're criticizing this movie heavily, I still enjoy it to a varying degree of like, yeah, I do like this movie. I think you need to have a writer. I don't think you're good enough to write your own stories anymore, if this is how messy they're going to be. Because, like, he hasn't worked with his collaborator Satoko Okudera, like, in years, since Wolf Children. And you can kind of see that Satoko helped wrap and work with Hosoda's themes better. There's a difference between when he was working with Hosoda on Summer Wars and then when Hosoda was by himself making Belle. And again, I love Belle, my favorite movie from 2021. But yeah, it just Hosoda needed to either simplify this story or focus on it more and really dig into it, because the only time I honestly feel like this movie works is in the third act. Like once they get to Scarlet encountering her uncle and such. Like I think like as wonky as this movie can be, I think that third act part where it is like committed to the Hamlet bits was really good. But it's you can still just tell it could have been better.
Yeah, I mean, I think your comment was, that was cool. I wish the rest of the movie was like this.
Well, that's exactly what it was, because that whole death spiral at the end was so good. Some of the best acting of any like dub from last year was from that one sequence, and I want this movie to be better. I love Hosoda. I own all of his movies except for the One Piece movie that he directed. And it's funny that we're comparing this to Howl's Moving Castle, because he was honestly set to direct Howl's Moving Castle back in the day. So,
Huh.
I just think that's interesting. But of course, by that point, Hosoda then went to work on The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Summer Wars, and then made his own movies and such. And I just think it's an interesting trajectory of, yeah, I think Hosoda works better with a collaborator, and that's okay. Sometimes no one can be Miyazaki or someone who can write and direct.
I'm just kind of curious, like what happened between him and Satoko. Did she just like get too busy with other projects, or did Hosoda just, I don't know, get a big head and think, you know what, I can do this on my own?
I just don't know. It's frustrating. I do still kind of like Scarlet. It's not my favorite movie or anything like that, but it's really hard to love a lot of what this movie's trying to do when it doesn't want to do or focus on any of it. I like the voice cast with David Kaye, Aaron Yevett, Chris Hackney, Jameson Price, Fred Tatasciore, and like Yuri Lowenthal and such. It has moments in areas where it works. But so many of those moments do not work. And when they pop up and they do, you're just hoping like, okay, it's on track now. It's on track, and then it derails again. And like the whole redemption arc for the two guys who were close to Scarlet's dad, and they're like, we're bad guys, and then they get to the top of that mountain. Oh, now we're good guys. At least one of them got like there were some inklings of character arcs for them, but again, you don't see them for the longest time in a movie after they're introduced until that point again, as like a surprise twist and such. So I don't know. It's Scarlet's coming out on Blu-ray. It's already out on digital. If you are or do really want to see this movie, wait for it to hit Netflix. But outside of that, I don't know if I can fully recommend it if you still have yet to check it out.
You know what? I would recommend it. Despite everything I've said, I feel like it's a good case study in how when you see something that isn't quite executed 100%. Like, I feel like if you want to learn how to write, like, I don't think it's a complete disaster, but
No.
if you want to see something that's flawed, but still, like, pleasing enough to the eyes and ears, because, by the way, the score in this movie is gorgeous. I do love the score, like, unironically.
Oh yeah, no, the score is great.
I would still seek this out, because, if you are truly a fan of, like, movies and everything, for those who don't know, I also do a bad movies podcast, quote unquote, called Play Crap with my friend. And a lot of the times we end up kind of actually liking a lot of these movies. Some of them even turn out to be good. So sometimes I think it's actually worth it for your own, like, maturation or, like, education as a consumer of media to experience things that may not quite 100% hit the mark.
And also, just film is subjective, so whatever our opinions are, like, you don't have to agree with us. If this is a movie that speaks to you, great. If it's just a disaster to you, then so be it. But you should always, if you're, like Bree said, if you're curious about this medium, you have to be willing to give anything a chance within reason.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I still kind of vibe with this movie on an emotional level, and it's like, okay, that works for me. And I don't know, maybe it's just I'm getting older, and the wiser, like, older and wiser, that's kind of questionable. But I don't know, I still vibe with it. Like, I don't know, I don't hate it. And especially with last year, this is by far and away not the worst movie of last year. Like, if you haven't
not
seen
even close.
If you haven't seen Sneaks or Smurfs or the SpongeBob movie from last year, then, like, no. This movie at least has ambition to its name, and it at least wants to tackle something. But it's also, like, the reason why sometimes Howl's Moving Castle doesn't work for me. Because it not shoved, but it focused on its anti-war message over the love story. And I liked the love story more than the anti-war message because I know where Miyazaki stands. But yeah, it's just like, to me, it is that thing of if you do want to get into writing, you want to get into filmmaking, you do need to watch movies of varying quality. And that's why I try to watch everything I can in a year, because you do need to do that. And sometimes, your favorite filmmakers are going to make something that's not as good as their other stuff. That happens all the time. The late, great Rob Reiner had an amazing slew of movies up until one point.
Yeah, which I've watched that movie, and it is not a good point.
Like, it happens. It happens all the time. Can it be disappointing? Yes. But, at least I'd rather talk about ambitious movies that don't always work than just, oh, this movie had no wiggle room to try to be creative or anything like that, because that's what it comes off like sometimes when you watch US animation and stuff like the Smurfs movie from last year or the SpongeBob movie and whatever. So that's really it. Like, Scarlet's like an ambitious, messy kind of movie that you may or may not like. And again, if you do, that's fine. Perfectly okay. But next time, we'll just say we will talk about the Coyote versus Acme trailer because it just hasn't come out yet. We're just going to predict that it's going to be amazing. Invincible. We're finally going to talk about this messy, like, speaking of things that are ambitious and not executed well.
Oh, I'm sure that'll be a fun discussion, but until next time, Bree, where can everyone find you online?
Well, if you want to see me talk about Scarlet and other nonsense and occasionally be a little shit weasel, you can follow me at crazylemur.bsky.social. I'm also on Instagram at lemurrule1, where I post pics and stuff and just generally not be as mean.
And Cameron?
You can find me on Blue Sky at camsiview.biz. I run my own website called camsiview.biz, where I review animated films and shows from around the world. Called The Other Side of Animation. I am a contributor to Media Magpies, your new one-stop shop for written media discussions around films and movies. And I have a Patreon at patreon.com/camsiview. That's where you can find me.
And you guys can follow me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Renegade Pop Culture. You can find us on YouTube at Renegade Pop Culture or Organite Zero. You can find us on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need escape? So do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.